When compression is had of the mutualization of things, there's a trade off that is of one thing for another, and these two have to be identified. Let's take the case of having to write out two sentences, but we will use an analogy. The analogy is of having a string and having beads, and having whole words written on beads such that a bead counts for a word as if in a sentence, where the line then delimits the sentence. So we can imagine that you have a string and it starts with a given prefix, a set of beads of words that have a particular meaning, and then it branches off in a Y, with the string becoming two strings and further beads independently placed on those, such that different sentences can be represented using a common base as a compression relative to what would have needed two pieces of string longer than the sum of the length of string used in the Y bead structure, where there's a base and a splitting into two. Therefore, if we consider what is the trade off, it's a very specific quality. When you have the two pieces, then they are independently able to be moved. They are separate pieces of information in a spatial capacity where they can be located otherwise than with each other. The trade off, therefore, is of a mutualization of locality as something that crosses the boundary between information and not information, in terms of it still having the same amount of what is represented, but not in terms of the same amount of surface area, where we trade the degree of separate locality for a lessened amount of morphism, but with a trade off as also having to suffer a lessened amount of separate mobility.